For the first time ever, I'm dropping 2 videos in a day because I just got to react to this. At this point, it's just getting ridiculous. Dana White just went on live and announced UFC 323's headliner and co-main event. And it's just ridiculous because not even 2 weeks after Merab's, again, like pretty dominant performance versus Corey Sandhagen, his 3rd title defense of the year, Merab will be going for his 4th title defense in December to literally have a chance to set a new record for most title defenses in a year. He's the Alex Pereira of 2025. Merab Dvalishvili is going to be fighting Petr Yan in a rematch, a long-awaited rematch, and they're actually doing it. They're actually giving Merab this fight. We thought that maybe Volk would headline that card versus Lerone Murphy. Maybe they're saving that for February in a Paramount card in Australia, but they're giving Merab the main event spot after he just defended the title versus Corey Sandhagen, and only in like who knows how many weeks from now, he is going to be defending again for potentially the 4th time versus Petr Yan. It's just insane. It's really insane. Like, the activity from Merab, a fighter like this, and he's already cemented himself as the Bantamweight Goat. The Bantamweight Goat. He's the greatest Bantamweight ever. We are witnessing the greatest Bantamweight ever go to work, just making all his competition in the Bantamweight division look like they're nowhere near his level. Merab submitted Sean O'Malley in the rematch. He almost knocked out Corey Sandhagen on the feet. What he said he was going to do was take a striker and strike with him and potentially knock him out on the feet. We all know Merab is primarily a cardio machine, wrestler, grappler style. He set the record for takedowns in his last fight with over 100, I think. And just relentless pressure and cardio and just ridiculous energy. And he just goes in there. He did what he did against... I mean, Corey Sandhagen didn't have the worst... Like, he had a pretty good performance. He had a really, really good... Like, he got up to his feet a lot of the time. I mean, Merab kept on taking him down with... Just toying with him, but... This is just insane. That Merab... They're actually giving him this fight. It was funny because his coach said he kind of wants Merab to take a chill, to take a break a little bit, and just enjoy what he has right now. And that he loses like 15 pounds doing camp with Merab. But Merab's must have signed off on this within the last 2 weeks because he's going at it again. He's like, give me Petr Yan in December. The UFC's giving it to him. Like, who are we to stop this guy from just speed running at a pace that is so rare in the UFC, to see a champion defend his title 4 times in a year? It's just like, okay, bring the next guy up. Went through Umar, went through Sean O'Malley for the 2nd time, went through Sandhagen, and now is going to go through Petr Yan again. And, I mean, Petr Yan, amazing that he's getting this rematch. He was probably one of the tougher tests for Merab when you look at the resume in Merab's career. But when it comes to the fight, you just got to think that Merab's going to pull it out on top. I don't think he finishes Petr Yan because Petr Yan has so much skill. He's super entertaining on the striking, but I think Merab's going to take a decision again, just set more history, just further elevate himself from the rest, from Dominic Cruz, whoever was in that fine line of greatness at bantamweight. Merab just continues to separate himself more and more from that. And you just got to enjoy it while we have it. I don't think anyone's taking the title off Merab except maybe Umar. But Merab is probably retiring with this belt strapped. So that's the main event for this card. Merab versus Petr Yan. Like, imagine the resume. Like, Merab, Morales, whatever the hell his name was, Petr Yan, Sean O'Malley the 1st time, Henry Cejudo, Jose Aldo, Sean O'Malley twice, Sandhagen, now Petr Yan for the 2nd time. Imagine he beats Umar in a rematch. Like, at this point, all you could give Merab is rematches. He's just on a cycle. He's just routine through the division. So it's insane that he's headlining this card. And I imagine they're going to really stack this card up because it's the end of the year pay-per-view. Last time they really did stack it well with a lot of great prelims, a great main card. The co-main event is very much expected. We were really anticipating this flyweight title between Pantoja and Joshua Van. Pantoja is in a league of his own at flyweight. And honestly, I think the UFC is setting this up in a way where like we could like after this card, because I have Merab and Pantoja both winning, but this card could potentially set us up for Pantoja and Merab to end up fighting each other later in 2026. This literally puts it on stage for them to end up doing that super fight. Pantoja has no interest right now in moving up, but I don't think you're going to have a choice at some point. Like, it's just getting ridiculous. Merab's been doing routine after routine title defense. Pantoja's been doing routine after routine title defense. They're just racking up the wins, doing laps on their divisions, and now Pantoja goes in there with an exciting young prospect, a dark horse in this flyweight division, like Joshua Van, who went in there and put on a violent, classic fight versus Brandon Royval, one of the best fights we've seen this year. That made Joshua Van a certified legend overnight and gave him the kind of performance he needed to now command a title shot. He's also been extremely, extremely active. Been on a great win streak, has very quick hands, great combination, and great body work. But when it comes to Pantoja, he's just not on the same level as Pantoja when it comes to the ground game. Pantoja is coming off another routine title defense versus Kai Kara-France. They just threw Kai Kara-France in there as a new intriguing matchup. And again, they're going to try to do that with Joshua Van. And people think that Joshua Van maybe could. I mean, Joshua Van's a wild card. But ultimately, you got to just go with Pantoja. Like, I think Pantoja's not going to try to look to be so fancy with Joshua Van and try to experiment like Merab did with Sandhagen and try to get a finish with Van on the feet. I think Pantoja's had too much victory in his head to know, like, I'm not going to mess this up. I'm not going to try to, like, get all fancy now and try to finish a high-level boxer, striker on the feet. I'm going to continue to stay in my bread and butter and go for submissions. Continue to just take these guys to the ground and completely wrap them and just and do what he does and literally, like, suffocate his competition into these nasty submissions. And he continues to just finish guys early. The last couple wins being Kai Kara-France, Steve Erceg. They tried throwing Kaya Sakura at him, but Kaya Sakura has not been aging well at all. He just lost to Tim Elliott. But Pantoja is already there pretty much with Mighty Mouse as one of the best flyweights ever. And this would be just another amazing win because they're just trying to find new guys to like. They're just trying to find new guys to like throw in front of him because he's just going through everyone. Pantoja and Merab, which again is why I think like this card sets up perfectly for these two super dominant champions who continue to just do title events after title defense, cementing their greatness at their divisions. They should fight champion versus champion. Let Pantoja try to get that double belt status. Because Pantoja could probably give Merab a tougher fight than some of these bantamweights can. So that is your UFC 323 card. A flyweight title fight and bantamweight title fight. If one of those fights was by itself, I don't think it would be strong enough to carry the card. But you combine both those fights together, that kind of evens it out to be satisfied with the end of the year card. And then another two fights that they announced. A nice little light heavyweight bout between Jan Blachowicz, who took a loss to Carlos Ulberg in London, and Bogdan Guskov has been on a little bit of a tear lately. He's a scary light heavyweight. I think this is just a layup for Bogdan Guskov, if I'm being honest. And then you have Henry Cejudo. I didn't see this matchup coming. I thought Peyton Talbot might be getting like another exciting young, but they're giving Peyton Talbot one of the oldest bantamweight legends in the game, and Henry Cejudo, who would be on his very last fight. Very weird fight in his last fight versus Song Yadong. Like, ended up getting called because of an eye poke and just a very weird ending to Cejudo. And Cejudo said that his next fight would potentially be his last fight. So this could be a retirement fight for Cejudo versus the young Peyton Talbot, who was looking very exciting in his first couple fights. You know, some quick finishes, striking. People saying he's the next star. Took a little bit of a break check when he got beaten by Ronnie Barcelos in January, but bounced back nicely versus a dangerous prospect like Felipe Lima in the division. Felipe Lima, like Brazilian, like guy, and Talbot went in there and held his own. Wasn't completely defenseless on a lot of the submissions because I'm sure Lima was trying that because that's what Barcelos did to him. Barcelos completely took away any of the striking and on the feet exchanges for Peyton Talbot, just kept him to the ground the entire time. Payne Talbot needed that win to bounce back, get the credibility back. Imagine what he could do with a knockout over Henry Cejudo. But Henry Cejudo's going to try to wrestle with him. So it's a little bit weird because, like, why do they keep on giving Payne Talbot these, like, wrestler-type fighters? Like, let him strike. Let the guy show off, like, his main forte right now. Like, you're still trying to build him up. They're giving Payne Talbot some pretty... I know Cejudo's old now and on the declining, literally on maybe his last fight. But this is like this is a clash of styles. Two very different styles in his last 2 fights that the UFC's given Talbot. So, Payne Talbot versus Cejudo and Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. And I'm expecting a lot more great other fights. I think they also announced Terrence McKinney versus Chris Duncan. That's going to be a violent banger. Terrence McKinney's crazy. Chris Duncan just had one of the craziest fights versus Rumbetsky. Chris Duncan's been winning. He's very exciting. So, UFC 323 in December, shaping up nicely to end off the year before the Paramount. And honestly, it makes kind of sense because, like, the UFC wants to save their best and biggest stars to open up the Paramount deal. Last thing I want to talk about is I wasn't going to make a video because, like, whatever, I was doing Vancouver, but we have to react about Charles Oliveira, how he went in there and had literally one of the best performances of his career after people wrote him off. He literally said he was considering retirement after getting badly KO'd, lost by Ilia in June. Comes into his fight in October in Rio, takes that fight after 2 months of being knocked out viciously, but it's like, I'm just getting back in there. So supposed to fight Rafael Fiziev, gets Gamrot, who people are saying was a sleeper, and a very dangerous matchup for Oliveira. Oliveira went in there, made short work of him, walked him down. Like, very dominant fight. Very dominant. Goes in the second round. Was winning. Had his way with Gamrot on all the scrambles and ground exchanges. And then eventually submitted him. Just a super iconic performance by Charles. People are going to look back at that for a long time. He goes into the crowd. The crowd's going nuts. The energy for that main event fight was different than the rest of the card. And, of course, he called out Max Holloway for the BMF title. The UFC can't fumble this. This is the fight that you got to make next. I know there was some rumors about Holloway versus Pimblett. You got to make this fight. Do it in March, because Holloway wants to fight sooner than the White House. But imagine that, like, Oliveira and Holloway on the White House card, BMF. Either way, this is a massive fight for later in 2026. A Legends fight again. And it definitely should be. It definitely could be fitting. Like, it's been 10 years since these guys last fought. It's almost like that fight never even really happened because, like, it was so long ago. There were much different fighters back then. So much has happened. 10 years. Come on. So, and also, like, yeah, Charles Oliveira, crazy performance to bounce back after, like, such a weird, like, people are saying, like, he's past, which is prime, but, like, a performance like that. Insane. Versus a wrestler like Gamrot. He lost to Sarukian, beat Michael Chandler, which is Michael Chandler, then lost to Topuria. Kind of was like, what else is there for Charles to do? But to do that in front of Rio, this could be his last quest to go after the BMF with Max Holloway. But ultimately, I got Max winning that fight. Max also just had a really impressive performance off Dustin Poirier to defend his BMF. This is an insane hype fight. Let's see it. And what would be an Amari video without a little Topuria glaze? Just how good is Ilia Topuria? Just how damn good is Ilia Topuria? This is just every single one of his wins is aging better and better. And I don't want to hear nothing from people. I don't want to hear nothing about, oh, Oliveira was past his prime. Holloway was this. Volk on short notice. Topuria beat Volk, and then Volk went and reclaimed the featherweight title versus Diego Lopez, who just had an insane, vicious knockout over Gene Silva, one of the most dangerous up-and-coming prospects in the whole division that people are saying could be a potential champ. And Diego Lopez beat that guy, and you get how the chain works. So, all in all, Volk beat him after coming off the Topuria loss. You had Holloway, who bounced back nicely with a pretty straightforward, like, it was a very back-and-forth fight with Poirier, but beat Poirier. Retired Poirier after the Topuria loss. And then Charles Oliveira. First time in his career he got knocked out like that from Topuria. In the first 2 minutes of the fight, couldn't keep Topuria down on the ground. In the first chance that Topuria got to strike at him, knocks him out with a clean boxing combo. And then the following fight, 2 months later, Oliveira goes in there and makes Gamrot look easy. Completely dominates Gamrot, arguably one of maybe his best performances, for sure in recent years. That reminds you of the champion era Oliveira, the Oliveira that went through Gaethje, Poirier, and whoever else he went through in that title run. That's what it reminds you of, and that's the kind of performance he comes off of. It just better. It shows much like how good Topuria is. Topuria is one of the best fighters in the world, and I'm super excited for whenever he fights next. Although they're saying that he's probably going to fight Justin Gaethje in January. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. Like, why are we rewarding Gaethje? And also, Topuria's just going to knock him out. Like, why are we going through that? But yeah. So, we're in a sick UFC timeline right now. It's one of the best timelines I think we've ever had. Pereira just won. Charles just won. Great cards to finish out the year with MSG. And in December, let's freaking go.